Alright. Okay, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic Lesson Non Classic. This episode number 3435, Doubleshot number 3329. Got two more trades. One is kind of the end of a run, the other is the start of a very brief run, I'll get to that. First up, we have the end of Jed MacKay's time on Doctor Strange. This is Doctor Strange by Jed MacKay, Volume 3, Blood Hunt. Yep, this contains issues 11-18 of Doctor Strange. Yep, when I saw these issues were the end of the book, I'm like, really? You end this really good book after this short period of time? Like, it's shorter than the last. It's actually, well, if you think about it, this was actually longer than the last couple books they published for Doctor Strange. So Alex Ross in the cover artwork here. We also have Danielle S. Barra does 11-12, and Pascal Ferry does issue 13-18. So for the opening issue, and I thought this was really nice, the fact Jed MacKay wrote this, where Steven is asking his beautiful wife about having children. And yes, they're basically doing this at Coney hang out with Clea's little sister, Donna, named after, well, Steven's like sister. Also, love the cute cameo by a plushie of Howard the Duck. That was funny. And yeah, discuss the fact that, well, that's sort of the whole thing of family, but and then we have sort of the debut of a new Circus of Crime, where it has a female known as the Ringmastress, Stefano Stello, Chief Beef, and Jim Nasty, which looks like a take on a combination of Mockingbird and Hawkeye. Yep, it's a brand new Circus of Crime. So the whole issue is Donna basically playing mischief, and of course you have Doctor Strange take on the new Circus of Crime. And then Donna is handed back over to her mother, Steven's mother-in-law, and possibly might be taking over the world, but not really. Bat does show up, and then of course, basically, and I do appreciate the fact that Jed MacKay was, like, you read this book like, wow, that is interesting. That is a topic that Doctor Strange and Clea have never discussed before, possibly having children. And it looks like, though, this might be ironic after this, but at least that Steven is open to the idea. Clea clearly is too, but will these two have kids? Who knows? I mean, there's nothing said the two cannot have children, but I do appreciate them doing that. Good job for that. Moving on to issue 12, and this is sort of a follow-up to the whole previous storyline with Strange, so we take on the Vishanti, and let's start with Clea, and then, of course, we see the return of course, there's a mention here about Black Cat, and of course, Clea's like, really? You have a beautiful woman hanging out in your house who's not me? Yep, but I thought this was kind of funny. Yep, and then he chases a snake, and then this leads to this mysterious black figure, and then the black figure turns out to be Victor Strange. Doctor Strange's brother is a vampire who basically was trapped in the Crypt of Shadows. And then he got freed, and then Bat is sent there by Victor Strange. And then we have this next morning where it looks like that Clea, and I'm like, okay, I'm not a fan of this bed looks at all, where Clea looks like that way they have the covers is, where it's like, I don't get how people can sleep like that, but I can't. If I see a cover like that, I would probably fix it right away. Yeah, and then of course, basically, Steven fixes his wife coffee, because of course he does, and must have gone for a walk. And then we come to a story arc. Yes, after two straight standalone issues, we have a brand new story arc for this book that lasts for a couple issues, because the last two issues deal with Blood Hunt. So, Doctor Strange and Clea form a new lineup of the Secret Defenders. Those of you who forgot what Secret Defenders are, these were a group of like random heroes who would pop up for a storyline, or pop up for like a certain story arc, and then as soon as the mission is over, brand new lineup. And throughout most of the book, it was Stephen Strange charted of the group, and then throughout the last half a dozen issues, basically, it was taken up by Dr. Drood. Yes. Which even he sounds like an odd choice, but he's not in the book. So, he recruits various individuals for his cause. And the first person he recruits is the Black Cat. I do like the fact that MacKay basically brings her in, because of course he wrote her first 2 volumes. Her current volume is not written by him at all. It's written by completely somebody else. And also, this also was her ongoing series was his very first ongoing work done. And the book was excellent. There was not a bad issue, the whole book, and I still want to know why the heck did Marvel end the book for, and then they brought it back recently without MacKay. So then, he's picked, and then they need a priest. And they go to Hunter's Moon. Yes, makes total sense, because MacKay is, well, at the time he should get was Vince's Moon Knight. He's still writing Moon Knight. Yes, can you believe he's writing this book now for, gosh, like 5 years? This book is going through about, it's already going, it's I think one, let's see, 1, 2, it's currently in its 3rd relaunch, because first it was Moon Knight for 30 issues, and then it was relaunched as Vengeance Moon Knight, which that lasted for 9 issues, and then you had Moon Knight Fist of Kuthathu, and that's at the end, ended after 15 issues, and it's relaunched book again, this time was Mark Spector Moon Knight Volume 2. So, because the fact that Mark Spector basically is in debt with him, with Doctor Strange, so I mean, the purpose of Hunter's Moon is basically he's the other fist of Kuthathu. Of course, they're basically the fist of Kuthathu. Basically, there's more than one fist. So, and then Doctor Strange recruits Taskmaster. I'm like, that's interesting, because the last Taskmaster book that came out was written by MacKay, was a miniseries. I guess I figured, though, why the heck not? And then with Clea, they work together, and of course they go on this little fun little adventure, Battle of Monster. They get this cool outfit here, and then of course they run into Doctor Strange's one of his oldest enemies, Baron Mordo. Yep. And it's up with a storybook, which I thought was really cool. A fun storyline. And he's kind of recruited here, and then can't exactly throw him in jail. Nope. And doesn't want to kill him. Nope. So what does he do? Shove him in the Crypt of Shadows. Well, he's there with bats, though Doctor Strange knows he's there. And then Doctor Strange goes visit General Strange. General Strange is a version from the future, an alternate future, and then the book leads into the events of Blood Hunt. So after this, so basically 2 straight selling issues, which were really good, and then you have a quick 2-parter featuring Secret Fingers, and now the last 4 issues are tying the Blood Hunt, because of course, why not? And of course, Blade is evil, stabbing Doctor Strange, making him a vampire. Oh, don't worry, he doesn't die. Those of you curious, why the heck is Blade evil for? Well, the reason why, because it was revealed in the Blood Hunt miniseries that he's possessed by the first vampire who's not Dracula. And this book along Venom War had the really bad problem where a lot of the important story details that should have been told in my miniseries were relegated to tie-ins. For example, Blade being cured. Was that handled in the main miniseries? Nope. Apparently, Marvel thought it'd be a good idea to put that into a tie-in anthology miniseries. Blood Hunters. You're like, what? Why the heck would Marvel do that? Why would they do that for? I don't know. It is by far, and by the way, MacKay wrote the damn thing, which seems weird because the Blade book that this up was written by him. That was by Brian Edward Hill. It didn't last very long. So, oh yeah, turned a vampire. And then, of course, he ends up finding his wife, the vampire body. And then, of course, basically, and then Clea recruits Tigra, Hunter's Moon, and Miles Morales did with the vampires. And of course, Victor Strange is here. So apparently, the Crypt of Shadows, according to this book, is a space hidden between the mirrors of the Sanctum Sanctorum. So he's here, and then we see Wong here, and of course they reference Wand, that's the agency he works for. And then they reference here Doctor Strange Sorcerer Supreme 56. This was actually the, I think, like the fifth of last. No, this is not the fifth last issue because book lasted for about 90 issues. But great to reference that here for MacKay. Even though he didn't write it, but reference here, and of course, the whole thing of vampire stuff, and then Mordo comes in and kind of liberates him. Yeah, the whole thing of Doctor Strange Vampire is only handled in this miniseries, and you would think like that they put this happen in the main miniseries. Oh no, they did not. Yep. Yeah, and eventually he is cured. Yep. And then the last issue itself, well, pretty much is a the best way to describe Doctor Strange 18 is that it's an epilogue for Blood Hunt. Well, for Doctor Strange, of course. During the event, Doctor Strange gave the title of Sorcerer Supreme to Doctor Doom, which Marvel had that set up for One Nation Under Doom, was to be One World Under Doom, and it wasn't written by Jim MacKay at all. It's like he just handed off another writer to deal with that. He may have power, he may not be Sorcerer Supreme, but he basically still has power, so. And then they talk with the Wand, Dr. Z, and kind of wraps up a nice little bow. To be alone, and that's it. This is fantastic. I give this book roughly a 10 out of 10. Final thoughts on Jim MacKay's run for Doctor Strange. Like, this all started with the death of Doctor Strange. Yeah, I heard about this. I'm like, really? Why the heck would they kill him off for? And then I kind of heard a rumor of the reason why. The reason is because of Steve Ditko's estate. Yes, that's why they had to briefly kill him. Was because they had to kill him or to satisfy the estate over rights issues. Which, it was kind of the same thing with Spider-Man, but Marvel didn't want to kill him off. They did try to do 8 deaths of Spider-Man, of course, that happened after this. But Steve Ditko's estate really wanted Doctor Strange back for some reason. Not sure why, but they did. Yeah. It was a weird idea, and then they pretty much brought back immediately in the short-lived Strange book, also by Jim MacKay, which was the 3rd volume of Strange, and it featured Clea as a starring character, and I love that book. That book was awesome. And then this book came back, which was amazing, and it managed to last for a good period of time. It's actually one of the more longer Doctor Strange books because, well, if you think about it, like, it's longer than Strange. And get this, the previous book was back in 2020. Yes, 2020, where it was a short-lived book, simply Doctor Strange Surgeon Supreme, and that got canceled 6 issues due to COVID. Yep. And the book before that, that lasted for, I think it was like 13 issues, I think it was. So, this is the first book last this length in quite some time. You probably think, like, what was the last book to basically last this length? Well, it wasn't the, oh, it was. So this is almost just as long as the Wade book. Yes. Yeah, this is almost just as long. Yeah, lasting for 20 issues. This is probably the first book since this book here that lasts that long. I know that the Doctor Strange book that lasted for 6 issues. And yes, it is part of the legacy that I'm bringing for Doctor Strange. Yeah. Yeah, it's the longest book in a while, but what is the longest running book for Doctor Strange? That'd be the third volume, when it was known as Doctor Strange for the Supreme, lasting for a whopping 90 issues. Now, is this book the shortest? The ones that count for the number of Doctor Strange? No. No, it's not. For ones that are ongoing, this is one of the more lengthier ones. It is longer than the Strange book. That it is. It is longer than simply the Doctor Strange Search of the Supreme book. And if I'm thinking, okay, so if volume... Now, the thing is, the first volume was 15 issues. Second volume was 81. So this is longer than the original volume for Doctor Strange. Yep. So, the first volume is the longest. Third volume is the longest. That's the Sorcerer's Supreme book. The second volume was second longest. You're probably thinking, what was the third longest? Third longest is probably got to be Volume 4. Yep, Volume 4. At 26 issues. Okay. That is the fourth longest. Alright. The fifth longest is the MacKay book. And I'd say this book was the sixth longest book of the entire Strange comic book. Yeah. And I love the fact it was so connected. He's one of the very few writers, MacKay, who actually makes his books feel so connected to each other. Him and Don Nicotis love doing this too. But this book overall was just fantastic. It definitely was a good idea to keep this book around. It's just shame the book kind of end. And then they gave him a mini-series for one more new, and then they gave him another ongoing. Which was pretty much basically picking up right where, like, not long after they did the tie-in. Though there is a special one-shot issue, 450. Yep. And those that are curious, though, has the relaunch book come out yet? It has. It certainly has. Alright, so next up we have is a new ongoing. Spider-Man Wolverine, Volume 1, The Janus Directive. This collects the first 5 issues of this short-lived comic book. Yes, I did realize apparently the book is set to end after only releasing 10 issues. I guess that super editor basically is still like, oh, you like these popular books? Be lucky you have 10. Just stupid. So, we have Mark Guggenheim on the writing. For issues 1, 3, and 5 is Carrie Andrews. Issue 4 is Juro Savino. Yeah. So basically, it's a Wolverine Spider-Man book. So you have Wolverine's slice of demons, some creatures underneath Berlin. So, and then basically we have Peter's current girlfriend. Yeah, she's here. Nothing really offensive about her, except that nothing is known about her aside from her being Peter's girlfriend. She has just occasionally appeared. She's done virtually nothing. And of course, call into conflict with Wolverine. And of course, they go to an abandoned S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier where they run into Kraven the Hunter and Omega Red. Though this Kraven the Hunter is not the original one. This is Last Son Kraven. This is the Last Son Kraven Hunter. It's a clone. Yeah, and of course they deal with them, and then we have this weird thing happen here where we have octopus tentacles pull him in the ground. And then Wolverine basically acts like he's in the event of the other. And he has Spider-Man act like in the Weapon X story. It's like they swapped histories. Where You have Spider-Man acting like Wolverine, and then you have Logan acting like Spider-Man with the classic night when Stacy died. And then you have Spider-Man acting like Wolverine with the whole X thing with having one of the covers. And you have Magneto basically just... It's like they swap lives, where Spider-Man's living out... Spider-Man's living Wolverine's memories, Wolverine's living Spider-Man's memories. And then it turns out it's all done on Mysterio, because of course it is. And there's some of Peter's past for this book, like... Oh yeah, and then of course Peter is convinced that Wolverine killed his parents, so he did not, it was somebody else. And then you have this weird thing happen with Logan where his jaw gets broken. Yeah, it's really weird. And they have fighting each other. And then Wolverine stabs Spider-Man. And then for some random reason, Spider-Man puts on the black costume. Because we gotta go back to the 1980s now. Because we're in the Savage Land. Yep. And then count on Kraven the Hunter, of course. Yeah, and then of course eventually happened the Finisher, and then for some random reason, Spider-Man and Doc Ock is in China for some weird reason. Yeah, this is issue 4. Comes to fight him, of course. Yeah, it's a weird issue. And it gets more odd. Yep. Where then all of a sudden, Peter's sister Teresa shows up here. Yep. By sheer randomness. And of course she's convinced that, well, Wolverine killed her parents, so he did not. It was a Finisher. There's stuff with the Enforcer here. This book was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I give this book roughly a 10 out of 10. At least 9 out of 10. The book was really good. Yeah, for Teresa Parker, it's been a little while since she was last seen in the comics. Yeah, it's been a while. As far as I can remember, I think the last time she appeared was actually... Yeah. Last time she appeared was in the giant-sized Spider-Man Human Conspiracy, which came out back in 2021. And then tries up in this book. First time in 4 years she's been seen. Because most of the put you just a regular character in the Peter Parker This Spectrum Spider-Man book, or she appeared in practically every issue of this whole book under Chip Zdarsky. And then once he left the book, once he wrapped up that previous storyline coming home, she was dropped from the book. And then Nick Spencer put her as a recurring character in Amazing, pop up one issue of Amazing Mary Jane, and then pop up in this book. Or issue 5, meanwhile, though, is her most recent appearance to date. Yeah. But not much else to say. This book is really good. It's kind of interesting, though, you have Wolverine and Spider-Man just randomly switching costumes, because at the start of the book, they're not wearing the Spider-Man's black costume. He's wearing his black costume for some reason. And you have Wolverine wearing his... It's like they're going back to the 80s for reasons. Like, we're in present day for 2 issues, and then we're going to the 80s for a couple of issues. Yeah, it's just so bizarre. Now, you read the book, you're like, why the heck would Spider-Man put his black suit for? No idea. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today's video. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. I will see you all tomorrow for more Sentai and comic corners. Okay, next video. Bye.